Hello, thank you all for being here, and thank you very much to the National Biodiversity Data Centre and Limerick City and County Council for inviting us. I'm delighted to be here for such an important conference. Giving us an opportunity to speak. So I'm going to be talking today about community engagement for water and biodiversity. Liz Gabbett will be co-presenting with me. I'm Donna Weiner, and I'm working with Mary Immaculate College and University of Limerick. And so first I'm just going to talk to you, what is the Maigue River catchment? It was established in 2016. It's a registered charity and became a CLG since 2018. Its main aim is to work with local communities to ensure that the rivers and lakes of the Maigue catchment can achieve their full potential environmentally and recreationally. And these are many of the funders who contribute to their aims. If you look on the inset, that's where we are in relation to the catchment, just south of where we currently are. And it's all of those rivers and lakes and streams and every single bit of water that is captured within that little area, within that geographical area of elevation that's relevant to this study. So how did I get involved? I'm a PhD student. And in 2019, Catherine Dalton is a director of the Maigue Rivers Trust, and she is also a lecturer she's an environmental geography lecturer at Maigue. And she put together this research partnership between us just to investigate the role and the impact that citizen science can have in river environmental stewardship. So that's the name of the study, it's CSI Rivers. So to that aim, we set out a survey, connections, concerns, and caring for your local river. And it was submitted nationally. And the study itself is interdisciplinary, so we're trying to get the ecology of how is the best citizen science, how can we make the most valid data, and how can we do that to monitor the water quality in those rivers and streams and lakes. But then also the sociology, what is it that makes a volunteer? What are their barriers? What are their motivations for getting involved? So we had a 25% Maigue catchment response rate out of the 756 respondents. And although we were very heavily targeting the Maigue River catchment, we got loads of other responses as well. So 62% were female. Majority of the people, around 80%, were between the ages of 30 and 65, and 40-something% were in rural environments. So that's just a bit of the demographics. So we asked lots of questions regarding citizen science and barriers and motivations, but also we asked, what is your earliest childhood experience in nature, and how positive was it? And we saw that extremely positive, 68% had extremely positive childhood experiences in nature. We also asked things like, what pro-environmental behaviors do you conduct regularly? And this is, of course, self-reported, but we took it as it was. So do you reuse, recycle, reduce, repair? And 89% claim to do so. Do you conserve energy? Do you compost? Do you limit your use of pesticides and insecticides and fertilizers? Is your garden wildlife friendly, bee friendly? So we took those two things, early childhood experiences and pro-environmental behaviors, we counted them all up, there's 10 of them. And so that what you see on the x-axis is the 10 pro-environmental behaviors. And then we could see, and there was statistical association as well, that extremely positive childhood experiences made it more possible for people to actually contribute and do pro-environmental behaviors. And you can see that anyone with negative, maybe not so much. So that you can see the statistical associations there. We also asked, on a scale of 0 to 10, how spiritually or emotionally connected do you feel to nature? And that was also associated with extremely positive childhood experiences. You tended to have more 9s, 8, 9s, and 10s on the scale of 0 to 10 of how connected you feel to nature. And you can see there that many of the people, 82%, said over seven in that feeling of connectedness. So we took these results, and then we also asked questions like, do you participate in any community, conservation groups, nature groups? And we asked tidy towns, do you contribute to citizen science for bees, butterflies, coast watch? Do you do bird watching, any sort of nature conservation group, etc.? And again, we counted these all up, 7 of them. And then you see here on the scale, so we grouped them up, 0 to 4 meant no connection to nature. 5 to 7 we took as sort of passively connected to nature, and then deeply connected was 8 to 10. And then we could see only the ones that were deeply connected to nature were inclined to do more than 5, 6, or 7 of those environmental behaviors that contributing to the groups, the conservation groups and things like that. So all I've done here is separate them out for you. So the level of connection to nature and participation in citizen science, like bees, butterflies, birds, and Coast Watch, and out of the 152 people who did that, you can see a large majority of them felt deeply connected to nature. We've done the same level of connection to nature and participation in nature and conservation groups, and we see 142 people responded, and 127 of them felt deeply connected to nature. And again, connection to nature, pro-environmental action. Do you limit your use of pesticides, insecticides, fertilizer on your lawn or farm? And 362 felt deeply connected to nature out of the 494. And last one is that connection to nature and is your garden or farm wildlife and bee friendly? And you can see that a large majority of those were deeply connected to nature. So I give you those just to give you an idea of that connectedness, how early childhood experiences can lead to connectedness to nature, and then that can lead to more environmental actions and maybe awareness as well. So now I pass you off to Liz.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to talk to you about the work that we do in the Maigue Rivers Trust and how we use citizen science and education outreach projects in our work. So why we use citizen science? People use citizen science for different reasons and have different priorities. But our first priority is to use citizen science as an engagement tool to educate people, and particularly because we're a river organisation, is to give them a sense of river stewardship of their local rivers and streams. And our second objective is to collect data. But combining the two together, what we're doing is we're building people's understanding of the interdependency of species, their habitat requirements, and ultimately we want to have them actively care for their natural environment. So because we are partnered with Mary Immaculate College, and we've a great depth of knowledge in our board of directors who are very knowledgeable, we are using science to basically inform the actions we take. From the research that Donna has done, we know that people are interested in knowing more about the nature of their rivers and how to monitor water quality. But what are they happy to do? Some people are hesitant about working in water. These are one of the questions that Donna has asked. She said, well, why are you hesitant? And it can be because of safety. They mightn't be happy about walking into water. They have water quality concerns. And sometimes they don't like walking into something that they don't know what's beneath the surface. So this is really important when we're designing citizen science projects or offering different citizen science projects to people. We have to know what are they happy to do. And different citizen science projects require different levels of engagement and education and knowledge. Another thing that a lot of citizen science requires people to identify species. But if you're not doing it every day, it's quite daunting. So it requires a level of training and getting used to it, and sometimes working beside an ecologist who knows things and you can ask questions. And unless you have that, people don't initially build that confidence that they're happy to make a positive identification. So when we're designing projects, co-design is really, really important, and knowing your audience. Because with that, you get engagement, and then you're getting buy-in strategy. So the two citizen science projects that we're running in the Maigue Rivers Trust is we're doing Freshwater Watch, which is a big project that's international from Earthwatch. And what we're doing is we're collecting chemistry data. So we're monitoring for nitrates and phosphates. And also because most people now have smartphones, they take photographs. And those photographs they take are a fantastic record, a snapshot in time of what is going on in a particular area. So we have around 20 citizen scientists who are involved in the Freshwater Watch, and what we're actually building on is actually getting farmers to take on this monitoring. The other citizen science project we do is CSSI, and that's Citizen Science Stream Index, and it's been developed by people like Fran Igo, who was here yesterday. I think if Fran is still here or not. But it's an Irish project that's looking at biological monitoring. So it's identifying species, and it's a simplified system to what the EPA or the county councils do. So it's making it more accessible. So, as I said, Freshwater Watch, it allows people to collect water without having to walk into the water. So for people who are nervous about walking into the water, this is a good option for them. And then if you're more adventurous and you're less concerned and you're more used to working in water, CSSI is a good project that if you're interested, you can take this on. So both projects are compatible. Often, we're bringing the data together, finding things, and we're just at the beginning. We're in our baseline years. Because with citizen science, you're monitoring change over time. Another thing that we do is community events, and what Donna had referenced earlier, these early childhood memories in nature, we're providing some of those opportunities for children and their parents, and often their grandparents are the ones who have time to bring the kids out. And these community events, we've run them over the past couple of years, and these are done in collaboration with other agencies like LawPro, Inland Fisheries, community groups, and Tidy Towns, who are really important for us to get the crowd out and show things, and local scouts groups as well. You can see some of the pictures there. But all of these make for a very rich event that people are being shown things that they wouldn't normally see. We also provide training events for landowners. Invasive species, I think we'll be hearing later on from Martina, I think. But in the Maigue catchment, we have a massive problem with giant hogweed. But we're building the connections with the local landowners, and we're running training events and showing them how to identify giant hogweed and how different it is compared to, say, Angelica, for example. And because often, if you don't know the difference between plants, an umbellifer with broad white multiple flowers, they all look the same unless it's pointed out to you what the differences are. So taking the value that Donna's study has shown is that positive early childhood nature experiences forms connections, and with connections that leads to hopefully better environmental actions that we take as adults. And what we're doing at the Trust is we're providing those experiences, those opportunities. Because the reality of the situation is, if with the extinction of with the extinction of species, i.e. biodiversity loss in an area, and I've got a picture there of the white-clawed crayfish, which unfortunately has been absolutely hammered in Limerick because of the crayfish plague, comes the loss of experience. And if people have never experienced it, they don't know what they're missing. So the work that we're doing now is really, really important, because it's an innate human instinct to connect with nature, and that has been already referenced in other people's speeches, talks today and yesterday. But that's so important to forming that connectedness so that people care and want to take action to prevent the biodiversity loss that's happening. So what needs to be done going forward? The thing with citizen science projects is they're multi-annual projects. So getting funding for just to do it once is really not enough. We need continuous funding. And local authorities often provide financial support and practical supports to Rivers Trust and other environmental NGOs that help us provide these nature-based events and community engagement. But they also need to be coordinated. And often the funding opportunities don't allow for inclusion of core costs. And as an organisation, we have non-negotiable core costs, for example, insurance. And these need to be covered. And if they're not allowed to be included in a grant application, we're stuck. And I'm a project officer. I'm an employee of the Maigue Rivers Trust. I'm the only employee at the moment. But for me to continue, salaries need to be provided for. And I'm part of an iCatch network, which is 15 catchment organisations from around the country, from Donegal down to Cork, from east to west. And we're all saying the same thing, that the funding grants that are offered, if they don't allow for core costs, we won't be able to continue. And we are providing good work, as are the agencies, but it needs to be addressed. So I just want to thank you for your time and attention, and if you have any questions, we'll take them when the time comes. Thank you.